Welcome to the Farmington Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. First item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So y'all please rise with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody.
Good evening, Steve.
Good evening to you. We're on.
Yes, we're on. You're near the microphone.
Good
Very
evening,
good.
Steve.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Steve.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to see you.
Glad to hear you.
That's right.
You're looking good, Steve.
Well, I have a face for radio.
Don't we all?
Yes, exactly. All right, well, we're on to item 2 now. And that is to hold a hearing to determine whether the structure owned by the estate of Ted Gay located at 130 Wilton Road on Lot 27, map U31 of the current tax maps of the town of Farmington, Maine on file at 153 Farmington Falls Road is dangerous or a nuisance within the meaning of 17 M.R.S. 2851, and to decide whether to order abatement of said nuisances by demolition and removal of said structure. I assume this is a public hearing we're holding on this, or?
Yes, this is a public hearing, so hopefully the public is able to view us and call in to this number if they have any commentary on the subject. Just to kick things off, I will say that this has been an ongoing matter for the last probably 6 years, and we've been dealing with an uncooperative owner for the most part. We're finally able, I wasn't present at the time, but back in November, Steve and T.D. Hardy and our code assistant were able to get into the structure and do an actual physical inspection, and found a number of problems with it, deficiencies that I'm sure Steve can fill you in on. I think perhaps some of that is described in this draft findings and order, which we'll ask the board to act upon tonight if you're so inclined.
Okay, thank you, Dick. So at this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Steve, you want to add to any of the information you gave us?
Yeah, I'll just do a quick chronology in case there's somebody watching that, just wants to have a review of how this came about. But as Dick mentioned, we were finally able to get in last November on the 15th to do an inspection of this property, which we'd never been able to accomplish before. And we were told by council that that's important in a dangerous building case, that, just looking at the outside, if you'd have to go to court, you want to be able to have looked at the interior to give a full judgment on whether it's a dangerous building or not. So as Dick mentioned, with T.D. Hardy from Farmington Fire Rescue, Kate Foster, my assistant, and with the owner, with Ted Gay's estate, Andra Hutchins, and Carol Hatch, who's a local realtor. We were all there on the 15th and totally inspected the structure. And I'll just add a footnote at this point, that during that inspection, Andra Hutchins did agree that it was a dangerous building with me. She took me aside and said, I do agree with you that it is a dangerous building, and that was heard by my assistant. So, and I give her credit for finally letting us into the building and inspecting it with her, which was very helpful. And so, you want me to break for this just in case it's
Well, if it's a
germane?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's just continue.
But I sent letters to Andra on the 14th of January and on the 10th of February, just reiterating my judgment that indeed it was a dangerous building. And
Okay, let's see what we can do. One moment. Thank you. The audio is crackling, and I can't hear the live stream.
Yeah, I was trying to explain, there was something I'm trying to work out with my boss right now. There's really nothing that I can do. Everything is plugged in. I've triple checked connections. I can double check this, but it's not.
so, I'll continue. In those
Continue.
2 letters I sent her in January, February, I reiterated to her that my judgment that it was, indeed a dangerous building. And I attached a draft consent agreement, which I would have given her the latitude of having most of this year to sell the property if she had just would execute it. And, we'd go from there. Well, she didn't acknowledge that. And I sent another letter to her on the 11th of March, just saying that I, referring to my prior letters and informing her that we were going to schedule a public hearing. We posted a notice of hearing on March 12th. We sent that to Andra on the 13th of March, and by certified mail and email, and there was never a return of receipt of the mail or a response to the email or anything. We did take quite a few photos, which you've probably seen, while we did our inspection. We also put an ad in the paper for this hearing on April 3rd. We also tried to reach her at a place of work. We previously tried to reach her. Okay. At her residence, and then just as a last chance that we could catch her at work, we tried that with a mailing. No reply. But we did get a return of service from the Sheriff's Department down in Massachusetts today. And I'm just going to read that really quickly here, because I think it's important that it be known that every attempt was made to contact her. This sheriff, and I'm quoting what he stated here, I hereby certify and return that on March 18, 2020, at 6:01 p.m., I served a true and attested copy of the notice of hearing in this action in the following manner, to wit, by leaving at the last and usual place of abode of Andrew Hutchins, 24 Waldo Way, Westwood, Massachusetts, 02090, and by mailing first class to the above mentioned address on March 18th. So, following that, we drafted the findings in order that we think is reasonable, and it's up to the...
And that was reviewed by council as well.
Thanks. But we put that before you, and if you see anything you would like modified, my computer's a few feet away, if you feel that you want to assign that, fine as it is, or if you think it needs to be modified, I can do that in a heartbeat. So I'm at your discretion here.
Was there any questions from the public on this? I was calling in, but this is the time to call in. Can they hear us now? I don't know if you've heard back from
The
JP.
camera is recording just fine. There's nothing else I can do.
Okay, so JP's, I don't know if it's still coming in crackled or not.
I honestly have no idea. I was
Okay.
told that everything was fine.
Okay.
So,
Can you ask Steve if he can see it?
Steve, are you watching this?
Yes, I am, Josh. Thank you for that. And as always, it sounds like staff have done due diligence on all steps and made all attempts.
Okay. Are you watching it on live stream or no?
Yes, I am.
Is it coming in clear what we're saying, or Steve's saying?
Well, on my live stream on the screen, the photo is pretty good. I'm having trouble a little bit on cellular connection in through to Richard to hear your audio, but that's some of the limitations of cell phone contacts and a little bit of a time sequence off between video and audio.
Okay. All right, good. So I guess we'll give it another minute for the public to call in, but I had a quick question in regards to if we do deem it a nuisance and demo the building, will we put a lien on the property and then get reimbursed if it
Yes,
sells?
it's actually a special tax, but it does become a lien if it's not paid, and then the town can foreclose on the property. We recoup the cost of demolition through that tax, special tax.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I just.
Yeah, we have used this procedure before
Mhm.
a couple of times, and it's worked pretty well.
Right, did we do it almost across the street?
Pardon?
We did it basically across the street, and we had Thought Bridge. Some of that work?
No, we did it at a small house down in Farmington Falls.
Okay.
A couple of years ago.
Oh, okay, that's what I was thinking.
Where else have we used it, Steve, that you can think of?
We used it in the falls at the old Crosswell store.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, and we used it on a barn over, down also on the Farmington Falls Road. And Gooseman Farm used it on
Yes,
that barn
yep.
there. So we've used it a lot over the years.
Well, I'm gonna say nobody's been chomping at the bit to call in, because they would have done it by now, so at this time we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Are there questions?
No questions, just a statement. Looking at those photographs, it certainly is a wonder it's still standing.
Well, I think Steve has an anecdote that he kicked the cellar stairs and he fell in, it caved in, so no one was able to even go down cellar.
It's a good thing.
I guess it's a good thing, yeah. I didn't realize it was bad inside. Looking, look at it from the outside, it's been dilapidated, but
Yeah.
that place has just been destroyed.
Yeah, we've dealt with this building for quite a number of years
Yeah.
and have been told that they would fix it. And my memory says originally that's what they wanted to do. But obviously they never did, so now you're at a point where too much time has gone by and no work's been done.
When you see the pictures.
I'm waiting patiently.
We can tell behind the mask.
Right.
Steve, I mean, you think people have been living in there in recent, or it's been a while?
I think there were probably intermittently squatters in there.
Right, that's
Yeah.
what, but it doesn't seem like anything recent, or maybe
Boy,
that would
I
just be
think when the
more.
weather's warm and, some people are looking kind of like for their own halfway house if they get too inebriated. And, they use it halfway home just to kind of bump down and that's,
Sure.
that happened with Joel's too.
Right.
Yeah, so I think people just avail themselves of any vacant building like that.
Right, that's what I would think would
Those
be,
purposes,
right,
yeah.
Yep.
another problem.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this? Is there a motion?
I don't know, we let Mike see the pictures first.
Yeah, that's sure.
See enough already?
Steve, have you seen the pictures of the inside of the home?
I have not seen them in person, but I have viewed in through windows.
Okay,
Yeah. Probably when, yeah.
I'm sure we could, if you wanted to, we could email them.
Yeah, I may ask you to do that. I would have emailed them. There were something like 90 photos,
Wow.
and I didn't email them, because it would have been a large
Okay.
file to send.
I can run them up too.
Yeah, that would be fine. I'd be happy to have the photos so I could have them in first hand. And I'll just conclude by saying I regret staff has to have to do such amounts of time to make due diligence on these, but this is an issue that's gone far beyond just a messy dooryard. When it becomes a public health risk, and we risk the potential of endangering first responders trying to go to a call at a building that's not well managed or secured, that crosses the border on this. So I'm glad to see that we finally take appropriate actions to come forward.
Yep.
I would move that we go ahead with the order of abatement.
I'll second.
Did you close the public hearing?
I did, yes, yeah. So
I'll
there's been a
second.
motion and a second.
For sure.
Move along.
And if you recall, it's a roll call vote.
Okay, roll call.
Nancy will call the roll.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Bunker?
Yes.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
Unanimous.
5-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good deal.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve, for all your work on this.
You're welcome.
This has been
Sorry,
going
it's
for a
taken so
while.
long.
Man.
Oh, well, while you're here, then perhaps I can get your signatures on the findings in order.
Okay.
You don't mind?
Yeah. Make a bigger airplane and send it to you.
Yeah, I know.
Need one of the extendable things with a little clip on it.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm docking if he's got it.
There you go. All right. With that, we will move to item 3, and that is to award the bid for riding mower for the Parks and Recreation Department. Did you want to add to anything we got here?
Nope, I just would reiterate that I have provided for you Matt Foster's request for proposals with the specifications, and on the backside is the 3 bids that he received and his recommendation to set the bid at $10,344 spent by Hammond Tractor for a John Deere, which meets all the specifications.
Question? Done a motion and a second for approval. Any other questions or comments on this?
I missed the second. Who was the second?
Scott was.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Steve, did you have anything?
No, I'm good. I would support the recommendation the department had, and I would say on a disrelated note, our Parks and Recs manager, much like our other department heads, but him in particular, I've taken note of the very positive comments that we've heard from him as he tried some new techniques to keep his programs going. He's really been a standout.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. Thanks for saying that, Steve, bringing that up. All right. Yeah, please.
Roll call, Mr. Bell?
Yes?
Mr. Bunker?
Yes.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Landry?
Yes,
So moved, 5-0.
And I should have pointed out that the source of funds for this would be the equipment reserve account. That currently has a balance of $22,421.
Thank you. All right. With that, we're moving right on to item 4, and that is to approve a new road name, Lindy Lane. So you got a memo here. Want to add to that anything?
From Cindy, this describes the property at 529 Titcomb Hill Road, and they're building a second house on that roadway, so therefore with our streets and sidewalk ordinance requires that if there are 2 or more residences served, then it must the road must be named, and this is the name that they requested. Doesn't conflict with any other street names that we have on file.
When a situation like this arises, these people pick the name that they'd like it to be, but are there other options where someone else might want a different name?
Well,
How does that work?
The name has to not conflict with an existing name. It can't be too similar because that could be confusing for first responders. And we don't allow the cutesy names because those often, the street signs get stolen repeatedly and that gets very expensive. So those are about the only criteria that we have.
So basically, these people, these are the people that live on this street, so therefore they're involved with naming it.
Yeah, they have the option to propose a name, and like I said, if it fits our criteria, then generally speaking, it's allowed. Apparently, it might be some family significance to the name. I don't know.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that we approve the new road name, Lindy Lane.
Second.
Been a motion and a second for approval. Any other questions or comments on it? Seeing none?
Okay, roll call, Mr. Bell?
Yes?
Mr. Bunker?
Yes.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Landry?
yes,
Moved 5-0. Thank you. That will move to item 5, and that is to approve the minutes of March 24th, 2020.
So moved.
second,
Been a motion and a second for approval. Any other questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none?
Okay, roll call, Mr. Bell?
Yes?
Mr. Bunker?
Yes.
Mr. Fogg?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yay.
Mr. Landry?
Yes.
So moved, 5-0. All right, with that, moving to item 6, and that is to discuss other business. Dick, did you have anything tonight?
Nope, nothing out of the ordinary, just to let you know that we are continuing to do business for the townspeople. They seem to appreciate the fact that we have people in here on a rotating basis to answer their questions and guide them to the services that they need, so I feel pretty good about that. And everybody's maintaining proper social distancing and hygiene, and I think we will get through this thing pretty well, hopefully within the next couple months. At some point, we will have to decide when to hold the town meeting, when it seems like it's going to be safe to do that. I'll have that on a future agenda for your discussion. As you probably have seen, the primary election has been postponed to July 14th. So that might possibly be a target date for the town meeting as well. We're trying to consolidate things. So, in the meantime, we're operating on last year's budget and trying to watch expenses and do the best we can.
Okay. Thank you. Steve, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Only that I share the town manager's optimism that we are going to get through this. I credit staff from finding different ways of doing business and keeping up with the responsibilities that we have for the general public, and we will see our way through this. We just got to hunker down and make sure that we're following all of these personal practices so that we don't have a recurrence of this, in which we hadn't. And over the time, put our thoughts together on seeing what budgets and town meetings are going to be like in the future, and come out on top.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
I would like to thank the town for taking this so seriously and reacting in such a positive manner. As I have traveled around town, I see most everybody that I see is taking it very seriously. As compared to on TV, a lot of times you do see a lot of social gathering, places that are not taking it that serious. Farmington appears to be doing an excellent job, and we hope that that keeps our experience with this virus at bay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Matt, you have anything?
No, I'm just, other than, I'm proud of what everybody's doing, but again, it's just more of the same.
Okay. Scott, you have anything?
I have to echo what these gentlemen have said. The people around town are really paying attention to it everywhere you go.
Mhm.
It's been quite an ordeal. We got another, month and a half to go anyway at this point.
Yep.
And I did have one question. I don't know if it had come to you, Dick. I'd seen the gentleman sleeping downtown
Yes.
a couple nights. Has that been brought up? Has that been an issue anywhere?
I wasn't aware of it. I'll have to ask Jack Peck if it's been reported to him and how that's being handled. Of course, as you know, the shelter was cleared out because they couldn't keep people apart, so that might be an issue. But if someone needs help, then we'll see that they get it.
He was down there 2 or 3 nights
Yeah,
last week.
I saw at least 2 nights.
Yeah,
Whereabouts?
right in front of Shiretown. Right between the potted plants.
Yeah. Okay.
Just about enough spot now.
Yeah.
We'll check on that.
It must be.
Josh, I have one more thought.
What was that, Steve?
I have one more thought to share as we close.
All right, if you want to hold on just a minute, Scott was finishing up.
Oh, no, that was
Are you-
fine.
that's
I
it?
just thought there might be a warm spot.
Okay.
Where the heat comes from the building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
All right, Steve, what did you have?
Yeah. Scott, sorry, didn't mean to step on you. We got a little voice lag here, like a bad Oriental movie.
Yeah, that's right.
No problem.
No, I just wanted to add for the record how heartwarming it was as our town celebrated the return of Larry Lord, and the folks that turned out from that, and the entourage that brought him back home again. That puts one more chapter in this long story to get us back to a point of healing.
Yes, thanks for bringing that up.
Yep,
I was
Very
amazed on the number of
that's very nice.
people in the procession going through
Yep.
town. And
Through many towns.
yes,
It was heartwarming to see.
Wish him well.
yes. The only thing one thing I had was, I don't know if anybody's had the chance to read the Franklin County Commissioners, the letter from Julie Magoon in regards to the county caucus and the process, how it's gonna happen this year. So you might wanna read it if you wanna participate, it's gonna be a little bit different. Steve, have you seen the memo? From Julie?
I don't believe I have.
Okay, the caucus is gonna be, done over the phone this year. It's gonna be a telephone conference, the way they're gonna do the caucus, so, and, ahead of time, the caucus is on the 20th of April at 5:30. So you gotta call in ahead of time and set up, so he'll know what number you're gonna be calling in at.
I can scan that and send a copy to all of you so you'll have it. I don't know if I kept a copy, so perhaps if I can borrow yours.
Yep.
I'll email that to you, Steve.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay, so just if anybody wants to participate in that, that's how it's gonna happen this year. So the meeting so far, I haven't figured any of that out yet, but
Good
we
luck.
postponed it, because originally this was supposed to happen on the 1st of April,
Yeah,
so.
that's what it was at the first one.
Yeah, so, there's one vacancy in every district, so. So, and I believe that's all I had. Well, no, I was actually gonna ask, it's been brought up to me in regards to, I don't know, if Dick, if you've heard anything from MMA, or Scott, if you've heard anything from the state, in other words, revenue-wise, because of all this going on. Have they been hearing anything like drop in revenue sharing, drop in funding to this thing or that thing?
There's been some informal discussion about that, and Kate Dufour at MMA did a survey to see what towns were projecting. I think we're going to be in pretty good shape, because I usually estimate the revenue sharing low, and this year I estimated about 3/4 of what was projected at the 3%. And so I think we'll be okay there. That, and of course, and excise tax are the two largest sources of non-property tax revenue that we have. The rest are pretty minor in the grand scheme of things. Excise tax, I've given you the analysis for last month, and we didn't really drop anything last month. So we'll see how it goes for April. That will be kind of telling. And the other thing is that we are in pretty good shape as far as our unassigned fund balance goes. We have $500,000 there that we could apply to the tax commitment if need be, and you have the authority to do that. And that would be, dependent on the budget that's passed later this year. You can look at that and at the time of the commitment and apply some of the revenue if you feel it's necessary. So I think we will weather the storm pretty well, and have a more accurate picture, I think, maybe after the end of this month when we look at excise again, because that's, people, just as a reminder, people can go to the website and there are instructions there on how to re-register your vehicles online through the rapid renewal program. It's pretty easy to do. Our clerks are also assisting people with registering their vehicles or re-registering their vehicles by mail, providing information over the phone. We have a drop box out front now where people can drop those documents and payments, and that's been working out pretty well. So I can't say, we haven't skipped a beat, but I will say that we're managing pretty well.
Haven't heard anything big coming down the pike. The state is going to be in an interesting situation after we get through this year. All bets off when we go back and try to figure out what we're going to spend money on. But
Yeah, right.
Right, that's what,
Yeah.
there's
there's
not
a
as much.
$280 million rainy day fund, but.
It won't last long.
It doesn't go too far.
Not far at all.
And the bill that we passed at the end of session regarding the coronavirus stuff is not going to be coming out of that.
Oh,
So that was funded already. But anything with a fiscal note is probably not gonna go anywhere.
Okay. No, I just, some people had asked me about it, so I was just curious if you'd heard anything, especially like one I thought of was like the local road assistance program that's based off from fuel tax.
Yeah, and people aren't driving as
Right.
much, certainly. I haven't heard anything about that. I can check with DOT.
Yeah, just,
Again, that's not a huge source of revenue for us, but.
no, but it goes to road construction and all that.
Right,
so.
yeah.
Did you have something, Steve?
No, I'm all set. Thank you very much, and I appreciate how we've arranged this meetings and allow folks to be able to call in and view through Mountain Blue TV. It's very good.
Good.
Great.
Most to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Mike's waving at me.
Oh, wait, sorry, roll call.
Oh, We
Okay,
get used to
roll
this
call.
eventually.
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Bunker,
Yes.
Mr. Fogg,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
yay.
Mr. Landon.
Yes.
So moved. Thank you, everyone.